Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to FRL, going off to the beautiful circuit Zandvoort in the Netherlands. I'm Nexy, I'm alone here in the comm box today. Good chunk of drivers taking the field here in the Seas of Orange grandstands. Gravel, high downforce, the highest banking of any Formula One circuit, and the highest banking on any circuit we will be taking part in on this season as an extension. Banking that, fun fact, is actually against the grade 1 circuit code, but is allowed because uh, they demonstrated it was safe and historical reasons. This is also the fun fact where Monaco is illegally short, but gets an exception because it's Monaco. Not the first time that the tax haven gets to be exempt from things. Alleged tax haven, I should say. I am not stating with definitive certainty that anyway. We got qualifying to go to. 13 drivers taking the qualifying grid today. We have up front here on my screen the Alpine of Troy. We have the Ferrari, lone Ferrari today, Kimaru. We have Morgan in the second Alpine. We have Leo in the Mercedes, lone Mercedes today. We have John in the lone Williams today. Random in the Haas, who is missing a... Oh, God. Not this again. So we have a wingless Haas of Random. Italian coming on out. We have Sierra in one of two V cards. We have Skylar, the Aston pair, making his way out of the pits, in fact. Turn on the track map for myself. We have Luck down in the Sauber, once again. We have Pritus, another wingless Red Bull. We have Lenny in the bright pink V card. We have Avo in the Aston Martin once again in racing green. There they go out onto the circuit. And then we have Brian, the Aussie driver, making his way across the circuit in the second Red Bull. This one has a wing. Very good for them. 36 laps await our drivers after 17 minutes of qualifying, and we have a couple drivers starting their flyers. Pridas being the furthest one along, followed by Random there. Pridas might run into some traffic from the Aston Martins as the wingless Red Bull goes on by. Yellow flags in Sector 3, but I think that is just for cars letting other cars by or some kind of slowdown. Pridas swinging out wide here into the very technical Sector 2. Not many overtaking zones on this track, but here is the second DRS straight. Big old overtaking zone in turn 1 after the DRS. That's going to be your best bet for moves. It's a big old hairpin, I believe Tarzan. And then you can make other moves. You can't really make a move through Sector 2, but here you go. You can wash out wide. And Pridas gets the ball rolling with a 111 flat. Here comes Random. Getting a 111 flat as well. Only a hundredth of a second behind Pridas. Aston Martin getting into some kind of issue there. There's some yellow flags. I'm not sure, but it's Skylar, who is on another outlap. So I think he was letting some cars go on by. Brian gets the second Red Bull going with 115-1. Luck comes on in, one of our people we expect to be a pole challenger. At least judging from last season, getting a 110 flat. Morgan getting a 110.3. Two drivers now getting times in the 110s. Our V cards are out there right now, and our first one going to start his flying lap will be Sierra. Here we go. Brakes around 50, scrubs those tires to get to that curb, and then mashes out of the throttle there, goes through this banking zone. Unlike real life, the line in here is to take the proper apex, but the actual cars will take that corner riding the high line through the banking and keep it more flat on the throttle. And you do a nice high cut, another high cut here, going on through. Zero touching some grass, a little bit, taking a little bit too much on the inside, avoiding that curve, avoiding the exit curve there. A couple of drivers getting times in. Avos hits a 110.3, only 0.02 of a second behind Morgan. Troy has a 111.1 out there, but here we go. Now through the banking. That leads you on to the pit straight. Sierra gets us a 110.6 behind Avo. Fascinating! Avo doing very well on the hot lap. Let's see what our bright pink V-carb of Lenny's able to do here. Going on through right now, taking the low bank. And crossing the line. Sets a 109.3. 7/10 ahead of Luck there. And Lenny gets a statement lap out. Very strong performance from the German Dragon. We have Kimaru coming on out in the Scuderia. Gonna be working his way over to banking now. Couple drivers yet to set a time. Skyler was unable to get a timeout on his first stint, and he is back out on a hot lap, on an out lap, I should say. Kimaru peels off into the pits, not setting a lap. Skyler's going to be starting off his lap now. A lot of drivers making their way around. Lux, that's a 109.4. Kimaru retires his car. Morgan as well. He's going to be confused seeing an Aston Martin in front of her and on the timing sheets, probably. I'm sure Avo is like, what? I'm in third? Excuse me? Yeah, you've not been that high before, bud. At least in qualifying. That's very good right now. We do have two drivers, though, yet to start. Or yet to set in the lap that will be challenging for pole, we expect. Leo in the Mercedes, a very quick driver, historically speaking. And John, our reigning champion, we expect to get there some good laps out. I see Leo making his way out of the pits in the Mercedes. The unmistakable light blue there as Skyler is going to cross the line for his first lap. And it's a 111 flat. 0.8 behind his teammate, who has found some form here in the early stages of this race. Or of this Grand Prix. Leo in the Mercedes going to be out there. I've not seen any movement in the Williams garage quite yet. John wanting to save his ammo. I say that, I think the Williams is coming out now. Yep. We will have a Williams out there. Getting also word from the track that apparently Leo... Whoa, I heard my own voice as I do that, but hearing word that Leo is apparently having some force feedback trouble in the car on the controller that he uses. So that is according to my own chat. There goes Leo though. He is going on through Sector 2 now, takes the car out wide, avoids the curb. A lot of the curbs around this track can be quite deadly. Take too much of them. Gonna wash out there, take the car down, brakes. Nice light, swings it around, gets the rear wing open. Goes on through. Well, if he is having trouble, it's not slowing him down. That's a 109.250, beating Lenny by half a tenth in terms of our provisional pole time. Setting a very strong time to beat for Lenny, Luck, and John. Morgan has managed to get into the 109s as we go on through. Britas nearly managing to actually catch up to Avo there with a 110.246. A couple other drivers making headway. We have Sierra making a 109.8 or 9, excuse me, 980, bringing him up in the 5th. Here comes John. Sneak it on through with a 109.3. That puts him provisionally 3rd. He has a tenth of a second to his former teammate to catch up right now. Couple other drivers on circuits, but Troy is going to be starting a hot lap here in his Alpine. Going to be running into Leo. The other Alpine Morgans starting another lap, presumably an in-lap. No, she has retired. I think hit the wall. It looks like on the bank corner. We have a couple more things going on throughout. So Morgan's final time here is going to be a 109.7. Lenny fights on back with a 109 flat. We'll see what other drivers have in the tank here. But Troy's looking to improve out. I know Brian's also going to be looking to improve out into the 111s. Rookie campaign for the Aussie. Troy not able to improve. We have Luck going to be getting ready in the Sauber to make a challenge for pole. Luck lets the Red Bull and the Haas by. The Haas apparently missing a wing. You can see the bright pink V-carb of Lenny behind him, but here comes Luck now to start his attempt. The Husky having the rear wing open. Gonna run into a Haas and the Red Bull. The Red Bull is on the flying lap. Random's right on him, it looks like here. Both on flyers. Had a little bit of contact there, but both were on flying laps. So now the Red Bull has to let the Sauber go, but both were on flying laps. It is a little bit your responsibility as a driver to what you call it, make sure you have enough space to do your qualifying run. I did see some rear wing damage going on, but you as a driver have to know that there will be slower traffic sometimes, and if you think a car is going to be slower, and you can see Brian's face, Brian has a right to the track. Random's retired out of the session, though. Presumably hitting the wall, and Luck's going to be going, it looks like, on an in-lap. Not able to improve on this run. Top 3 still in the pits, waiting for the right time. Brian does have enough time to do one more lap. Everybody here has enough time to do one more lap. Don't know if Avo's gotten an improvement out of that car, but they were on an out lap. Just judging by the car itself, they are being very pacey right now. You can see the more rounded out front wing of the Aston Martin. Little behind their previous best. It should be plenty of time to make up through the middle sector here for the Raven. Yellow flags out in Sector 2 for some reason. Maybe a wild Martin got on the track, I don't know. Couple seconds behind as I think Avo's bailed out of this lap. So Avo will finish with the time they have. Leo's on the out lap here going through Sector 2. Luck looks like he won again. So we'll see what Luck's able to do. John and Lenny are going to be on an out lap. John getting pole position last. See what Leo is able to get. And cheering on their partner as we go on through. Leo now getting into turn 1. Gonna be working their way through Sector 1 now. High banking now to come on in. Dip to the apex there. That's what we do in F1. The game. And he then goes snake on through. He looks pacey through these first few turns right there. Improving by about a 1/10 in the first sector. That's the extra grip you get from track evolution. It is big. That is the benefit you get from waiting as long as you can. Lenny is going to be the last one to set a time, keep in mind. He is going to cross in time, though. We do have Sierra starting the flying lap. Lenny's just started the flying lap. Leo is improving. The Sauber is out of fuel, I can tell. Or not. No, may have just been letting a car by. Leo going to be going on through. Taking it on. This has a chance of being a 108. No, it's a 109.3. Lost some time in the third sector. This leaves John as our pole contender against Lenny. It'll be a little the Puerto Rican against the German. Our rating champion, though. Going on through Sector 3 now. Goes on through what is the DRS detection point for the actual race here. Slinks on through. Nails the DRS. There's a little bit of wing on the track there. But John has a chance. And it's a 109.029. Is that enough? Lenny's bailed out of the lap. So John secures pole by 100th of a second. Everybody else is either in the pits or finishing on up. So John, back to back, sniping pole at the last second. What a strong performance from the Puerto Rican. And that's why he is on top this time around. Title defense going well. So that's John P1, Lenny P2, and Leo rounds out our provisional podium at race start. One driver failing to set a time, and it's Kimaru. Not quite remember if there was a situation around there or not. Here we go, though. Getting ready for the main race. 2 minutes of break here. As we can see, the Paddock Club, apparently. Sponsored by DHL. It's a cloudy Dutch day in the race. Well, there is a potential for rain. I'm wondering if there will be rain. If there is rain, then this entire order could get shuffled about. We are awaiting the race. Driver is going to be setting up their strategies. There is rain that comes, and that will completely change up the strategy picture. We do have a two-stop, a mandatory two-stop rule for our dry races. You do also have to use 2 different compounds throughout the Grand Prix. In a dry race, in a wet race, the 2 dry compounds are not required. I cannot remember if we still require the 2 stops in a wet race. We've not had many wet races, let alone a wet qualifying in FRL. A lot of our potential wet races in earlier seasons did, thanks to server issues, get reset into dry races. But there are still wet races throughout. I have called a couple wet races here. They say rain's the great equalizer. And, well, we'll see if that does do that. It tests your skill, but here we go. Formation lap ahead, and Lenny gets ahead of John, but that's not quite right. But we do have John leading off against Lenny to start our formation lap. That's our front row. We then have Leo and Luck on the second row. Leo and Luck, the sole representatives of their team. Our lead Alpine today is Morgan, starting off the third row, followed by our second V-Carb of Sierra. These two are going to be looking to challenge the Constructors' Championship fight, and they do have a decent opportunity with the second Williams out here. Avos in P7 being the lead Aston Martin. A good start and a good qualifying session by their standards, actually. She had a very good time. And then we have the lead Red Bull of Pridas, formerly of the commentary booth, now back in the seat. Finishing out the 4th row. 5th row of the grid, our sole Haas of Random, and our second Aston Martin of Skylar rounding up the points. Skylar, one-time podium sitter here. We then have Troy in the Alpine and Brian in the 6th row of the grid. Brian struggling with some setup issues around that last turn, but here's hoping he will have a very strong race today. Finally, we have Kimaru on the 7th row of the grid, unable to set a qualifying time. Random overshooting. Kimaru holding in the back to warm up the hard tires. Mix of hard tires and medium tires throughout the grid as we get on ready. And the Dutch Grand Prix is 5 lights away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 LED lights. FRL's away in Zandvoort, as it looks like Lenny gets a good launch on John. John moves inside to cut him off. Luck had a very good launch on Leo, but unable to take advantage of the traction. Leo's on the outside line, but Luck now on the inside line. Little bit of contact there. Morgan looking to try to capitalize his two are side by side. Lenny unable to get on by John. John leading through that banked corner there, and now our cars are going to be going on through. Little bit of a gap forming between Lenny and Leo, but Leo manages to hold on to 3rd. Luck and 4th. Morgan over 5th. So far, we are running as we were, except that Kimaru got on past Brian, who had a little bit of bogged down start in the back there. Sierra in P6, able to hold on against Avo on equal tires there. Pridas on the hard tires fell a little bit behind, but is starting to catch on. Avo's starting to get a little bit close, I can tell from the mini-map, but so is Morgan to Luck here. Looking a little bit back. Morgan looking to stick her nose in. DRS will be enabled on lap 2 as these drivers go on through now. Couple little packs starting to form on up. Random having a little bit of a pack behind him. Troy having the medium tire advantage, but unable to make use of it. Lenny, same idea. John sets the fastest lap, obviously, with a 1:15. But here we all go through now. 1, 2, 3. Where our field is remarkably, as it was, remarkably stable field here. A couple drivers looking to get on through. We have a very strong opening lap from a couple of our drivers. Troy did manage to get on by Skylar in the back here, taking advantage of the medium tires, but we'll see how far they fall off, how fast they fall off, I should say. Currently our drivers and our grids looking on through on this cloudy day here in the Netherlands right now. Troy and that Alpine looking to get on through random. Further up, Lenny in his bright pink V-Carb looking to take this race lead as the DRS is going to be active going on down the main straight. John looking defensive, but Lenny just has overspeed out of there. Overspeed and more traction on the tires will make a DRS pass very easy for you. John now looking at the rear wing of a V-Carb. The Gulf Williams looking to fight on through, and then there's Leo in right on behind in that Mercedes. The Sauber's starting to fall back a little bit, but everybody's within DRS of this lead car down to Sierra, who is starting to fall away a little bit himself now. Then there's Avo, who's got quite a gap to Pridas now, holding on to that 7th position. we're going to see the mix of tire compounds and strategies really coming into play here. Drivers were, throughout the practice session, especially struggling with the tire wear. Now, that practice session, you don't have a fully rubbered-in track. Here, you have a fully rubbered-in track, but we'll see what the wear is like here. As John pulls off to the outside, Lenny went defensive, but DRS pass makes it easy. The Williams is now back in the lead, both of them using up a lot of battery. We don't have Leo and Luck behind Morgan. Managing to eat in a little bit of time. It is her home race. The Dutch driver looking to make a strong showing of it in the Netherlands. So far now, Lenny's starting to fall back a little bit into Leo. Ever so slightly, just judging from the visual language the cars are having, as Random now finds his way past Ridass, who's had something go wrong back there. Losing a lot of position side by side. He's now side by side with the Aston Martin of Skylar, who's able to reclaim 10th position here. DRS active for both. They're going to be side by side through here. And Pridas kind of cuts the corner a little bit. There's yellow flags up ahead, as it looks like there was an incident involving Luck. The Sauber having to let the entire grid go by, and here he goes right now. The Aston Martin there. Sauber peeling off into the pits right now, but that has brought Abo up to P6. Skylar now in P9. Several cars falling on back. Meanwhile, John's almost a full second ahead, and that would be crucial as we go on through right now. Lap 5 out of 36. Lux pit onto intermediate tires, so there is rain. There is rain in the forecast coming. And I think that's why we saw so many hard tire runners. It makes it safer. But if the rain is forecast this early, that Luck is willing to take a gamble on it, then, well, it becomes a matter of if the medium tires will hold up, because you don't want to pit onto another dry tire to pit onto a wet tire unless you have to. Little bit of a strong fight here around, but here comes Leo now looking to the inside. Lenny did not have DRS to defend, as it looks like that medium compound's starting to wear on off. Very high tire wear here was reported, and it looks like that is coming to fruition. As further on back, Pridas manages to get traction on Troy on the inside there, and I can see the rain now falling. And that's Troy banging into the rear of Pridas, sending him forward. And now Pridas rejoins right on side by side with Skylar. Maybe the rain's starting to catch these drivers out. Maybe Luck's going to have an advantage now going on through. I don't hate the call as the rain falls here in the Netherlands. Whole lot of drama so far here in this fight around the back of the grid. This is an important fight, though, for a points-paying position. Skylar and the Aston Martin putting pressure on Kimaru in the Ferrari as they now snake on through, entering the third sector. A lot of decisions to make on when to pit for those inters. Usually your very safe sign is when DRS is disabled. That is your sign that, yeah, you should probably be on the inters, but you could find it a little more. And it becomes a feel game for these drivers. A lot of them are also going to be looking at Luck's lap times, presumably. At least if they can see it. I'm looking at Luck compared to Brian and compared to Bridas here. As these drivers now snake on through. Lenny still on the back of Leo. But I think now they're at the point where they want to just manage these tires, not make any crucial mistakes. I think luck is starting to eat into, there's a yellow flag in Sector 3. That may... Yeah, that's, Sierra going into the pits now, as Avo's up in the 5th position. And I think Sierra's gonna take the jump onto, the intermediate tires, as, yeah, Sierra had a broken wing. So that wing's gonna get fixed, and he's on hards. Sierra is on hard tires. Presumably there was an misinput there somewhere in the pit strategy, because with rain falling, I would not pit onto the hard tires here unless you think this will just go away. But John has built up a 1.7 second gap. Leo's being strong, and that's luck in the pits again. Luck is in the pits and putting on hard tires. So maybe this is just a slick rain race here. But we do have Lenny and Morgan now going into the pits for hard tires for Lenny. Morgan's pitting onto intermediates. Whole lot of tire chaos happening here, but Abo is now up at the P3. We have Kimaru down in P6, but Lenny emerges ahead on fresh rubber. Morgan's on intermediates, and I'm going to be interested to see the lap times she's able to do. She has to warm up the tire a little bit, and the hard tires are still in a good range of wear, but if I'm her, I'm not liking the amount of fallback I have to Pritas, who I know I'm faster than, if I were her. It's kind of stabilizing, but we'll see what they're able to do once the tires fully warm up here. Leo and Luck having a little bit of a blue flag, nose to tail. That's Lenny and Random fighting. Lenny gets on by with DRS, it looks like. And then it's Skylar and Kimaru behind, but Skylar unable to get on by. Both these drivers are on identical tire compounds. Skylar was starting in P10, is now up to P7. Now, a lot of drivers are handling pits. Morgan pits off of the intermediates. The Alpine team immediately not liking the call, as several drivers are now just gonna stay on the hard tire. That's Luck. Luck is off the circuit here, manages to get on by, but that's gravel on his tires. Not what he wants to see with fresh, hard rubber. Whole lot of drivers. Everybody has to stop again so far, except for, Morgan and Luck. They did their 2 stops and a compound change onto intermediates. I don't know how the game will handle that, but I think by the rules they're good to the end. And we can just reinstate where they were running. But here we go, Skylar and Kimaru. Skylar tries it up the inside, but unable to find a traction to make the pass stick. Kimaru just a little bit more confident on the throttle on exit. Maybe has slightly better wear. Avo was on 10-lap-old medium tires as Lenny gets on by him. Wanting to just extend those tires. for a while, it looks like. But maybe at this point, it's a mistake. We have, Brian down in P12, 14 seconds. That's a rookie check. Troy in P11, Morgan P10, Luck P13. Random P9 starting around there. Sierra in P8 starting around there. A couple drivers yet to pit. John's pit on the softs. Interesting. Avo's pitting now, too. We'll see what the Aston Martin team has prepared for the British Bird. It's hard tires. John's on soft, which is a fascinating call, but we have Kimaru, Skylar, Leo yet to pit, as well as Brian. There's a Red Bull in the pits for Pritas, pitting on the fresh mediums. John is quite quick on those soft tires. He's going to make up the time to Leo. He is ahead of Lenny, but Lenny is going to know that those soft tires wear out. However, actually there is a logic to the soft tire, which is that the softer compound does handle wet tracks a little bit better. You can get more temperature into them easier. You have more grip, and when you have less grip on circuit, just having more grip in general helps. Hard tires are generally a little slippery. Yeah, you can see that in the corner there, just how much time John gained. Leo pitting onto the medium tires. And it's going to end up behind both John and Lenny, who kind of had an undercut. Though also net positions and all, how that breaks on out. Brian's pit onto the medium tires at the second Red Bull. And Kimaru is our second to last driver to pit. Our last driver to pit's going to end up being Skylar in this first round of pit stops. A couple drivers having taken an extra pit stop with a gamble on the medium, or not on the mediums, on the intermediates. But so far, it's John, Lenny, Leo, Skylar, who will be dropping on back, and then Sierra and Avo. And then we have random Morgan. Kimaru now in P9 on fresh mediums, ahead of Troy, who he was fighting for these points-paying positions. We then have Pritas in P11. We have Luck in P12. And we have Brian in P13. Whole lot of shuffling around the order. Couple incidents, but we are now settling into a very interesting track condition. It's not raining hard enough to justify wet tires, or intermediate tires even. But it is raining. It's making it harder to stay on the harder compounds. Yeah, you could see John really pulling away from Lenny here. The soft tire is quick. It's gonna wear down, but it is a quick tire. Maybe John's plan here is to then go on mediums to the end, or hards to the end. Really early. Once the track maybe dries out a little bit, but just take advantage of the low grip. Because, like, if you have low grip anyway on the hard tires, then the advantage you get in terms of longevity is neutralized a little bit. It's a fascinating race we are seeing play out here, but for now, our closest fights, Random and Morgan. Morgan having recovered herself back up to P6. Not bad. We also have Pritas in the in the Red Bull fighting Skylar in the Aston Martin. Troy getting ahead. Pritas and Troy both going to be fighting for that P9, P10, and P11. A three-way fight for P9 here. And Every point matters for a lot of these teams, especially for Red Bull and Aston Martin. Not so much for Alpine, with Morgan being able to consistently rack up high points paying positions, but if she's not around for a race, or if she has a bad race or something, you do want those points. Aston Martin especially going to be looking for every point they can get in the constructors' fights they have further on down. Skylar goes to the inside of Troy in a very unusual spot. Those are high-speed turns right now, but I guess Troy had a slowdown there. A very... You don't see many overtakes there, but now Skylar has traction DRS, and that's going to be an easy pass for the Canadian Dragon. Very on through right now. And we'll see if he's able to break DRS eventually, but this might also invite Pridas into the fight for the points. Troy looking in. And here's Pridas. The Alpine there. The Red Bull. The Alpine's not able to get the traction on the 7-lap-old hard tires right now that he needs to fight Skylar on the fresh hards. And we'll see if Pridas can take advantage now of the slowing pace of the Alpine. Luck's out of the session. He's retired in the pits. That is going to promote Brian a place. That is going to bring out caution flags in Sector 3, but it is a retire from the pits, which is the proper procedure. And Lux left the session. Here we go. Prid going to be looking to get these points for Red Bull. Currently, race update for those of you tuning on in. Our lead, Saul Williams, is John, our reigning champion, on pace for a back-to-back race win at this halt, but still a long way to go. Lenny, down in P2, starting to inch into the times a little bit. We have Leo in P3, Sierra is now up in P4, Avo's in P5, a very strong performance for her. We have Morgan in P6. Random in P7, Kimaru in P8, recovering from P13 to there. Skylar is in P9, Troy's in P10, Pridas is in P11, Brian's in P12. And letting drivers on through, being a lap down. Whole lot of race left though, and this has been a very chaotic race on the strategy. John, for his credit, is taking those soft tires a very long way. And still has pace and raciness to them. I suppose that's what makes you a champion driver, though. These little skills there. As Brian's going to be letting some drivers by on the straight. That's what that brief yellow flag was for. But it looks like that may have helped out his teammate a little bit. Pridas is caught well on up to the rear wing of Troy. Troy on 9-lap-old hards. Sierra's on 10-lap-old hards. So Sierra will be the first to pit here. Into the second wave of pit stops, presumably. It could be John, to be fair. But John's gonna want to... He's gonna want... Oh, goodness! There's Troy going wide. Going wide and hitting out a brake marker. But that lets Pridas get promoted into the points for Red Bull. Skylar, though, in P9 has built up quite a gap to these two. But is struggling to eat into Kimaru's time. And Kimaru's starting to gain on Random here. Random improving a lot as well. Especially from previous races. proving to be a very good driver here. Maru's hybrid on a mission right now. In that scooteria. The prancing horses going on, trying to charge up the field. In a very overcast, drizzly track. It's certainly been one of the wilder days here in Zandvoort. Our home driver, Morgan, is currently running P6 behind Avo, who I'm sure is having a wild feeling right now in P5 and has kept it relatively clean too in that Aston Martin. In very tricky conditions. P5 will be one of his higher finishes, if not his highest finish. It's not his highest, I don't think. I think he's P4 before. Never been on the podium, but is he currently in a position to capitalize on podium chaos right now? And she has pace compared to Sierra. Two British drivers, so one preferring Cornish. John's now pitting. Hitting off of the soft tires, which makes sense. And is pitting onto the hard tires. So these hard tires are going to be going to the end. It's 13, 14 laps on the hard tires is a long call. That is a disadvantage for going on to the softs, but the soft tires did give a lot of pace for the Puerto Rican. So it's looking good so far. Meanwhile, it's Avo and Sierra going to be fighting here. Sierra, a very tough defender. And I think Avo knows it. I think at this point you just don't want to lose too much time to the Cornish Dragon. Just make the pass as easy as you can, get DRS, set up your exits well. You don't want to fall back into Morgan here and lose the track position to her if you are Avo and the Aston Martin crew. DRS wing opens on up, not able to get on by here. Falling behind a little bit in the dirty air. Currently, this is a fight for P4. Zero going hard to the inside. Morgan pits out of this. And has a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Oh no. But yeah, you can see what Sierra does, like just how he defends across the track. Makes full use of the track. 14 lap old hard tires for the Cornish Dragon. 10 lap old hard tires for the British Raven. Morgan, it's apparently for her, it might just be a home race curse. Usually that applies to the Brazilians, but and the Australians. Does it really only help the British now that I think about it? Yeah. Maybe Ferrari. But it. Yeah, and then we have Lenny and Leo both pitting at the same lap onto hard tires. We'll see how much of a gap John's able to eke on out from the undercut. And Sierra finally calls it quits on those hard tires, being an undercut. So that covers off the undercut. But I don't think Avo is really too concerned with that one. As Brian lets a couple drivers on by. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think, Avo's too concerned with the EV carb there. On when it hits, I think, she has a plan and is going to stick to it. This has also brought Skylar up into P6. All these pit stops. A couple drivers left to pit. Brian will be pitting again. Avo, Random, and Skylar as well. And everybody else should be going to the end. We have 13 laps to go. As John Lee has led almost every lap of the Dutch Grand Prix. There's been one lap, by my count, where he didn't. A very strong drive from the Puerto Rican so far, but Sierra is on the freshest tires on track. Is going to be looking to fight. Avo also knows that Sierra tends to wear out his tires. And I think he can take advantage of that if needed. Skylar is now threatening Random. Kimaru's down in P9 in own race for that update there. Random, the Italian Dragon, had quite a drive so far. They're going on through. Apparently Skylar, 8/10 of a second, now 9/10 of a second, falling on back, but still in the DRS range for now. Very settling down phase of the race here, but Skylar, couple interesting things. There's going to be Avo, who will most certainly have another shot at Sierra after pitting and going on through, depending on how long they last, as Random triggers his pit stop. So it's just the Aston crew now being the last few to go. Skylar started on hards, I believe. So we'll be going for mediums to end. Avo started and made a long stint with the medium tire. Does potentially have the ability to just go on the mediums again. Avo and, or that's Skylar and Morgan fighting. Morgan gonna be looking to fight on through. If you're Skylar, you don't want to waste too much time in this fight. Yeah. You're on different strategies, and oh boy, look at that move there from Morgan. The Dutch Martin, I think, having some anger at the way her race has gone on out, and has managed to make a nice shunt into the inside. Had the traction from the superior tires, could brake later, and that was a late braking move there, and then gets the DRS advantage because of how far back the detection point is. It's Avo's now into the pits. And pitting on the medium tires. Having a little bit of a pause on my end of the screen, but it's just because it wasn't showing the animation for me. Beautiful camera angle there from EA Sports F125. Sierra now has a 7-second gap, but 7 seconds at 10 laps is doable. If you are the Raven there. Our top three have kind of solidified themselves at this point. At least for now. So it's just going to be about avoiding mistakes for them for a little bit, as Sierra's going to make a move along the outside. That's the lack of traction Skylar has on the old tires, but yeah, you can see the traction. You're able to put just that extra inch of throttle on down. as Red Bull parks to let some drivers on go. But Sierra just able to get that extra inch of throttle, that extra tenth of a second earlier. And that makes all the difference in an overtake on the outside where it's about speed. In general, on the outside, you're carrying more speed, you can brake a little later, but you have more distance to cover. Inside is less distance, and just kind of better track position, really. But you do have to brake a little later. In general, it is better to defend on the inside, forced to move along the outside. 3-second time penalty for track limits violations for Brian. Skylar's very close to grid now. Here we go by. Lenny is starting to eat into John a little bit. Skylar now has fresh tires here, gonna be looking to fight Grid now. At Red Bull is in P9, Skylar's in P10. At Red Bull is on 5-lap old hard tires. Both the Aston Martins are on medium tires. Random's also on medium tires. Are going to be looking to get on by Himaru here at the main straight. And Skylar had a good exit compared to Prid, and that allows a DRS pass. Holds the inside, has less distance, takes the outside exit. And that's P9 for the Aston Martin. Up to P8 now, we have Haas and Ferrari getting in on the fun. This fight for P7, but Random's closing in to the Ferrari. 6-lap old hard tires, not the oldest hard tires on the grid. Couple are older. John's being the oldest on the grid, and he is starting to lose time to Lenny, who has found his time to turn on the brakes, but he's got to make up the time in 5 laps and then find a way through. Or 7 laps, I should say. But it is very doable for the German in the V-carb there. Haas of Random looking inside. But Kimaru just has battery, but it is draining it as they go on through. I don't think Avo's eating enough time into Sierra right now to be able to catch up. The Aston Martin just not having quite enough pace. Currently it's the Haas fighting the Ferrari is what we are watching here. For P7, decent points paying positions all around. Red Bull not getting in the way. Race update as we have lap 30 now. It's John, Lenny, Leo, our top 3. It's then Morgan in P4 on her home race with a 10-second penalty hanging over her. Then it's Sierra and Avo. Then we have Himaru in P7 after starting at the back. Random's in P8, Skylar's in P9, Pridas in P10. Skylar's joining in on this fight now. And then it's Troy in P11. Brian, P12, a couple laps down. Yes, Avo is within that 10 seconds of Morgan. That will bring Avo up to P5. Morgan has a bit of work cut out for her, but tire compound differences is just making this very hard, as well as Sierra starting to get closer. So these last 5 laps are going to be very interesting, it appears. These drivers are now going on through. And 10-second penalty for track limits violations for Brian down there, which is I've not seen it be that big, but that could get rescinded if he were to with the stewards, because he was blue flagging. We now have Sierra and Morgan in a fight on track. Avo's... This could bring the Aston Martin in if Avo manages to really lay down the pace. Troy gets 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Troy going on the soft tires for a little bit of a glory run. Not really in any fight. This is going to potentially slow down Morgan. If you're Morgan, what do you do here? Do you try to defend Sierra? Or do you just let Sierra by? Knowing that fighting him will, just essentially secure Avo P5 when you could potentially put some pace down for P5. These drivers are really starting to get interesting. It's not quite set in stone throughout the grid, and anything can happen on any given Sunday. John's managing to find the pace he needs to keep Lenny behind. I think that's looking solid, assuming nobody makes a mistake. There himself backing up a little bit. Knows he doesn't have to take too many risks. There's not really a chance he's gonna get to Leo. You do sometimes want to secure it on track, though, both for your pride as a race car driver and also in case the penalty is overturned. Morgan not showing defensive. I think would have let Sierra had it if he went for the dive there, but Sierra's going to be another lap behind. These drivers going to be fighting on now. Yes, there's a looming problem for Morgan here, which is she is running out of time to get a gap to Avo, if that is her goal. Dutch Martin looking to go on through, just take her lines as normal, try to be as fast as she can, but there's a little bit of a slowdown there for her. The Raven does have a bit of pace in that car still to be able to hold the gap. Now going on through, final few laps ticking away. We'll be on the penultimate lap shortly. Now being in the back, getting let by a Red Bull, and then there's a Red Bull and looks like the Williams. John is who is back there. John gonna be lapping a couple drivers too, which makes this all the more interesting for Morgan and co. Sierra coming on back as John starts the penultimate lap of the Dutch Grand Prix. Going through the motions up on the front, but not everything set in stone here. Morgan's car looking fairly slow. She might be trying to back Sierra up a little bit. Either that or it's just her hard tires are that worn. She does at least seem to want to hold this position on track. Random and Skylar are in that fight over there. Now for P8 with Maru still technically in danger of losing P7. And there's the Williams of John now about to become a factor in it. But the... Yeah, Skylar has to let him go, so that diffuses the fight there. But here we go. Final lap of the Grand Prix for several of these drivers, and it looks like John has ended Skylar's fight a little bit early. We'll see what the other two do, but you don't want to get lapped if you are random. Here we go, though. Sierra still looking on the back of Morgan here. We'll have the DRS zone. Nothing else is going to be quite through with it, but here we go. Now on to the banking for the final time for these two. Well, for the penultimate time for these two. Sierra will have a chance. Does not take it. We have further back, getting through the Haas is John. Quite literally, so these two are going to end up finishing where they are. Skylar having to let a couple cars on through. But John crosses the banking and is going to cross the line to win in the Netherlands. Yeah. Very, very strong race for him. Lenny takes P2. Leo P3 quite comfortably. Then have Sierra and Morgan still fighting. Morgan with the 10-second time penalty looming over her head. Managing to at least hold on to Sierra on track. Unless Sierra has something to say about it. They were very close. Troy has a 10-second time penalty for an unserved penalty. Okay. I think that's just doing the 10-second there. But Morgan's gonna cross the line in P4 on track, but it will be P6 in actuality. Avo gets across the line in P5. And it's just Kimaru having to cross the line here in 7th position. The Ferrari recovering from 13th up to 7th. Well-run race. Tricky conditions to only have one retirement, and that was a retirement in the pits. Couple of broken wings at the start, but things settled down. I think these drivers were trying to be careful, trying to finish in very tricky conditions, especially after last week where there was a lot of chaos. But it's the Puerto Rican who was our race winner, and a very strong one. Lenny gets the fastest lap. Leo takes home P3 for the Silver Arrows in a recovery from last week. Sierra's in P4. Actually, there's another accomplishment for Sierra. His internet did not become a problem in this race. Avo takes P5, one of her higher finishing positions for the Raven. We're going P6, a disappointing home race for the Dutch driver, but can still be happy to take home points and have fought well on track. Kimaru in P7, a good recovery drive. Random P8, Skylar P9. Pritis moves down to P10, having started P8. Troy P11. Brian P12. And our sole retirement, Luck in the pits. you guys very much for tuning on into the Dutch Grand Prix here. A very strong race for our drivers. Next week is the Belgian Grand Prix on March 28th, and then we'll be off for Easter. The circuit Spa Francorchamps. A very strong circuit. Very fun circuits. One of the best in the world, if you ask me. The longest circuit on the F1 calendar, too. In fact, though not the longest straight. And it is actually just outside of the legal top of 7 kilometers. It is 7.0001 kilometers after the changes to the bus stop chicane. I have been Nexi here in the calm booth. I will see you next week, same time, same place. I would like to thank Corvix for hosting today and for being our bit of a race director here. I'd like to thank all of our stewards, Drew, Polo, etc. I would like to thank the people too, even giving me information in the chat and certain ideas. Thank you all. And goodbye.